Well, the voice referendum was held on Saturday. The results came fairly quickly. Of course, a referendum requires a double majority. That's a majority of states. There's only 6 actual states, so that means 4 out of the 6 states had to vote yes. And after that, a majority of the citizenry also had to then vote yes. It became very clear very early in the night that that simply was not going to happen, and by 9 p.m. it was all over, bar the shouting. But a man who worked very, very hard to try and achieve a no result was Warren Mundine. He joins me right now here on the Aussie Wire. Warren, how are you?
Good to see you.
What's the feeling for you? An enormous amount of work went into this, but at the same time, I get the sense, having watched the coverage of the No campaign's watch party. I guess party is probably the wrong word. There wasn't really a sense of celebration about this result, though.
No, it was really weird, I suppose, because it's unlike any election campaign, and people do vote across party lines. Something over 30% of Labor seats voted no,
Mm.
and then you look at even some Greens voted no, so it's more of a relief that we were able to stop the amendment of the Constitution, and it was just really about sitting down and having a drink and a cup of tea and talking to people who work so hard in the campaign.
Well, I think that's the key. There were people, yourself included, but of course there were so many people that volunteered, so many people that pounded the pavement, stuffed letterboxes, handed out how to vote cards and supported the campaign, and it's certainly worth acknowledging their efforts. I want to finish on a positive note and talk about what we can do to make a real difference, but before I go there has been a big blow-up recently. I'm going to bring some data up here. This is from the AEC. This is showing the seat of Nyunggai and the fixed polling positions that voted overwhelmingly no against the referendum. And here shows a selection of the mobile polling stations. This is where the AEC goes out to extremely remote communities. And we see there that they voted overwhelmingly yes. Now, a lot's being made out of this. A lot's being claimed that this proves that obviously there was an overwhelming support amongst the Indigenous community, and that really the implication being that sort of white Australia, racist Australia, if you like, has deprived Indigenous Australians of something that they so clearly wanted. What's your take on this data?
Well, to me, it's just they're just playing games. To be honest, we have seats in regional New South Wales and Queensland, and that have large Aboriginal populations, and they voted no.
Mm.
And so, so to me, this means nothing. And also, there is, and Senator Jacinta Price raised it on the night. There are question marks about that because these communities, English is their second, third, fourth, or even fifth language.
Mm.
So they send Aboriginal Land Council send out interpreters, and they then interpret it. And we know from anecdotal evidence that the interpreters say, "Don't vote for this person; they're racist, and vote for that person."
Mm-hmm.
So that's there needs to be a lot more investigation and looking at those seats.
Certainly those remote polling booths do appear to be outliers. I've done some coverage of that on my own Topher social media there, looking into the statistics and comparing that to the NT, and I'll move on to comparing that to parts of New South Wales as well in coming days. However, while I've got you here, Warren, and I'm so grateful for your time, you're a very busy man and very much in demand and very much deserving of a break. The last thing you want is to be on more media like this. But I really want to pick this up because this is something that came out. I listened to you speak in Wodonga when you were on the campaign trail campaigning for the no vote. And you mentioned while you were speaking that there was a reform that you had a hand in, I believe it was in 2019, to do with reforming native title and giving Indigenous Australians more of a say and more power and the ability to make better decisions over their own lives. Can you give us a bit of a rundown on what that was and what went wrong, why that hasn't had the opportunity to succeed yet?
Well, it was really about dealing with home ownership and investments in that. And there's a problem of investment in a home ownership in Aboriginal communities because the lands are collectively inalienable title, which means it's owned by the collective of the group or the clan who's in charge of that area, and then that is and through the Land Rights Act and that the Native Title Act, they have to go through the Land Council. So you've got this sort of gatekeeper type thing. Now, this usually takes a long time to get processed in that. So what we did at the time, and the minister was Nigel Scullion from the Territory, we twigged the legislation so people can make town plans and economic plans for the land that they own. And
Right.
so we went ahead with that. and we got it moving along. But unfortunately, after the 2019 election, when Ken Wyatt came in, he twigged it back, and we asked why, and he said because he wanted a relationship with the Aboriginal Land Councils. What that does, as everyone knows, that owning your home and being able to do that is the first steps in economic independence. And it was really weird because we had people in the mining industry getting $150,000, $200,000 salaries, but couldn't own their land on Aboriginal land.
It's extraordinary, and what it reeks to me is that we've actually locked Indigenous Australians into a collectivist, a socialist experiment, and unfortunately that's going about as well as socialism has everywhere else that it's been tried. Well, Warren Mundine, thank you so much for your incredible work. Take a well-deserved break. I do look forward to having you back on the Aussie Wire in the future. I want to explore these issues of real solutions that can make a real difference a lot more deeply. But for now, Warren, thank you so much for coming on.